What's going on? Vincent Rapisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. So in this YouTube video, I want to talk about running backs. And for some reason, there's a narrative out there that running backs just don't matter. You can find them anywhere. They're irrelevant. But for whatever reason, the value of other positions never seems to be questioned. Most of the time when people talk about how you can find running backs anywhere, players like Austin Eckler, Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert, those guys kind of pop up in the conversation. But what people fail to mention is the actual workload of those running backs. While a player like Austin Eckler was incredibly efficient last year as both a runner and pass catcher, he ranked 35th in rushing attempts. He also ranked 24th in total touches. And neither Breida or Mostert ranked higher than 33rd in total rushing attempts or higher than 35th in total touches. So again, while they were efficient and productive, it was in a very limited sample size. You'd have to think that in a larger sample size, maybe they aren't as efficient. And the argument of being able to find running backs anywhere is just factually incorrect. Last year, among the top 10 ball carriers in rushing attempts, 8 of those 10 were either first or second round draft picks. And of the top 20 in rushing attempts, 15 of those 20 were first or second round draft picks. So basically, if you want to find a dependable running back, someone who can be a workhorse, you're probably going to have to draft them within the first 2 rounds. And of those 8 first or second round picks that were in the top 10 in total carries last year, those 8 averaged 4.5 yards per carry. So not only were they dependable and counted on, but they were also incredibly productive when doing so. And what's also odd is that people seem to ignore the fact that running backs directly affect 3 phases of an offense. They obviously run the football, they catch the football, and they block. And we're not just talking about a wide receiver that's on the perimeter and you don't really notice his blocking skills. If a running back has to pass block, he plays an important role in trying to protect the quarterback. And of the top 30 players in total touches last year, every one of those players was a running back. So wouldn't it be smart to invest in a skill position that's carrying the football more than any other skill position? One of the most highly scrutinized draft picks over the last few years has been the selection of Saquon Barkley. The Giants took Barkley second overall and passed on many potential franchise quarterback options. But as a rookie, not only did Barkley rank second in rushing attempts, but he was second in total touches too. And he ranked third in yards per touch among players with at least 200 touches. So as a rookie, he was instantly one of the best players at his position. And even last year when he dealt with an ankle injury that forced him to miss 3 games and clearly still hampered him when he came back, he still finished 11th in touches, and he was 8th in yards per touch among players with at least 200 touches. And he's not the only running back in recent years that's been drafted high and has had an instant impact. Look at Ezekiel Elliott, look at Todd Gurley, look at Christian McCaffrey, and even Leonard Fournette. So while the longevity of the position is certainly not there, at the same time, if you do take a running back high in the draft, there's a good chance they are going to have an instant impact as one of the best players at their position. And to stay on the topic of longevity, you know what position has the longest longevity? Longest longevity? Did I say that right? Does that even make sense? Kickers! Does that all of a sudden mean that kickers should be taken in the first round because they last the longest in the NFL? What's also interesting is according to Statista.com, the average career for an NFL player is 3.3 years. And both cornerback and wide receiver fall below that average. So why don't people bring up that wide receivers and cornerbacks? Well, the longevity isn't there. Why don't people bring that up? Also, do you ever see Tom Brady or Tyreek Hill or George Kittle or Jason Peters used as examples as to why you can just find good players anywhere at their positions as well? Remember Malcolm Smith, the linebacker who won Super Bowl MVP? He was a 7th round draft pick. I didn't see people after the game tweeting about how linebackers don't matter and how you can find them anywhere. What about when Julian Edelman won Super Bowl MVP? Did anybody make the argument that you can convert a college quarterback into a star NFL wide receiver? Corey Littleton was viewed as arguably the best inside linebacker free agent available this offseason. He was undrafted. Anthony Harris was tied for the league lead in interceptions. He was undrafted. And of the last 5 Super Bowl winners, not one starting center on any of those teams was drafted before the 6th round. My point is not to sit here and tell you how amazing and how important the running back position is, but I'm trying to point out the flaw in this narrative. The idea that running backs can be found anywhere, but we're not holding other positions to a similar standard. Maybe it's just one of those easy jokes to make because running the football is viewed as incredibly old school. I don't know. But I just don't understand why the running backs don't matter or running backs can be found anywhere argument has never been tested. It's just this narrative that people assume and take at face value. Well, if you know me, I hate false narratives. So that's all I got. Vincent Rapisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Vince Rapisardi. I also have a podcast, the Big Blue Unbiased Podcast, which is on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all those other platforms. If you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. Thanks again, Vincent Rapisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com.